Hello everyone. This is the 12th part of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Chapter 37, The Formidable Airbender Final Part. Aden's Point of View. Sometimes an obvious thing hits you and you're left wondering how you never saw it before. You're left wondering if you were blind or just dumb that you missed it. Where am I going with this? That same thing happened to me. I had never gone all out before. Not really. In every mission or altercation, my strength had to be kept in check so as to not hurt someone else. The only fight that had even brought me close to that had been against Solomon Grundy, and I had to put him down quickly so as to not risk civilian lives. The fight with Mr. Twister, I had been unsure, not really familiar with my powers. But against Clarion? There wasn't a problem with hitting him too hard. He could take it. He was immortal after all. The Lord of Chaos unleashed a wave of power that disintegrated everything it touched while heading towards me. I flew backwards while thinking of a plan. In front of me I could see the walls of the tower and knew that there was no escaping the reddish-black energy wave. So I decided not to. Let's do this. I increased my flight speed, leaving a sonic boom behind me. Right before I smashed into the wall, I shifted my body so that my feet were pointed towards it and let loose a point-blank wind blast on the wall through my legs. Cracks impossibly appeared on the magical wall as my legs bent. My eyes made contact with Clarion's body and the energy wave bearing down on me. Wisps of all the leftover yellow order energy from my contact with Kent's mystical cane appeared around my form. Then I pushed. My body shot off from the wall, leaving behind a crater and flying pieces of brick. A compressed drill made up of the most violent winds I had ever created before, formed around my body as I twisted in the air, the order energy covering its form and turning it into a yellow tornado. My flight speed was on a whole other level. I hadn't just surpassed the speed of sound, I had totally fucked it over. There was barely a resistance as my drill speared through Clarion's own attack and all too soon arrived before him. His eyes widened in fear. Who are? My hand speared through his chest and came out the other side. The flight speed I was under carried him towards the wall of the tower and slammed him on it. Clarion coughed out a black liquid and struggled to lift his head up at me. His eyes were red with rage and fear. I will. He started, but I slammed a fist onto his face, breaking his nose with my left hand. Clarion groaned and tried to prime his energy and failed. The right hand was still inside his chest, having delivered a blow filled with order energy. The energy was like poison to him, simultaneously ensuring he couldn't do anything while also hurting him. Just to be sure, my left hand shot out and immobilized him further through chi blocking. I heard an angry roar on the platform Clarion had been standing on before and turned my face towards Clarion's familiar. My eyes were cold as I made contact with the oversized cat. Shut the fuck up. Try anything and I'll make him suffer the most unimaginable pain possible. I punctuated my statement by twisting my hand inside Clarion's chest. Clarion groaned in pain. Got it? The cat bristled but stood down. I pulled up closer to Clarion's ear. If this was going to work, I needed to show him I was completely different from other heroes. Let me guess. You want to torture me, kill me, devour my soul and all that jazz, right? I asked him softly, a small smile on my face with my eyes halfway closed, looking nonchalant about the whole situation. I don't blame you. You've probably never been in this position before, Clary. Content to play your little games with the Lords of Order for centuries on end. Normally a little chaos is like spice. You know, it takes away the boring factor from life. And you don't know this, but I hate boring shit. It's just, like no for me. You know what I mean? I twisted my hand inside him like before and his face twisted even more in pain. But then you had to go and ally yourself with that misguided selfish group of fools, giving them the courage and confidence to start pulling shit. My hobbies are playing video games, making music and talking to sexy girls, but I can't. Why? Because of you and the light. Stupid name, by the way. If you're the light, why the fuck do you hide in the shadows? So here's the deal. At that point, the smile dropped and my face went blank with no emotion. Clarion gulped in terror at the lifeless look I had on. Get out while you can, Clary. 'Cause I'll tell you a little secret. I brought my face closer to his ears. I am planning your deaths. Clarion's breath hitched. Number. No. You're a hero. One of the goody two-shoes. Heroes don't kill. I chuckled. Now what gave you the impression that I was good? Does a superhero have to be good to save people from danger? It's all really subjective, you see. Is Batman a hero to his rogues gallery? No. Is Dr. Fate your hero? Definitely not. In fact, the way I see it, they suck at it. You know what a good hero does, Clarion? He shook his head. He ensures that anyone with the guts to murder people en masse is 6 feet under. I'd rather be the villain if it stops the Joker from causing mass murder. But that's besides the point. A menacing smile appeared on my face while my eyes widened. This is a warning, Clary boy. The next time I see you, I'll end you, and don't think I don't know about how you manifest here. I pointed a finger at Tickle. Bam! A wind bullet escaped my finger and dug a hole through Tickle's eyeball. The tiger familiar fell down, dead. No, Tickle. A drill appeared around my palm and eviscerated Clarion. His head hung down his chest and his body lost its pulse. Despite that, I knew he was far from dead. Clarion was immortal. All I had done was deal him a heavy blow. Mostly due to the leftover order energy I had smartly utilized. His body turned into an oily shadow and disappeared along with his familiar. I looked around at us. At the destruction caused. Abracadabra was still passed out on the same platform Clarion had stood on, saved by the Lord of Chaos probably. So villains don't mind helping each other out when it's little trouble to them. I flew over to another platform and took some deep breaths while looking at my blood-soaked hands. What had I done? What needed to be done? My conviction answered. I didn't fear Clarion's revenge because I knew his type better than most. They would whine and only go into a fight that they knew they would win. Clarion had just lost spectacularly, and I knew I had put in the fear of God in him. He wouldn't dare come for me directly because he was afraid of the order power he thought I had access to. This effectively removed the Lord of Chaos from the running for a while. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to take revenge on me indirectly. However, as long as it wasn't a direct confrontation, anything he could throw at me would be manageable. I tightened my fist. This was the road I had chosen. There wasn't any backing out now. The team was going to no doubt arrive soon though, and I couldn't let them see me like this. I opened my mouth and released a small sonic attack that vibrated the blood out of my hoodie and body. General point of view. The Watchtower, 22 hours after the Tower of Fate mission. This is the Yellowstone National Park, as all of you are quite aware. It's also the base of T.O. Morrow, the scientist behind Red Tornado's creation. I have intel that he's planning something. Something that might prove catastrophic if he's not stopped. Batman swiped his hand and the image of the national park changed to an image of a middle-aged man with a mustache. Most of the Leaguers, with the exception of Green Lantern, Superman, who had a Toymaker situation to deal with in Metropolis, and Green Arrow and Black Canary, who were following up a lead on some League of Shadows deal, were present. What exactly is he planning? Shazam asked. Apart from world domination, revenge at us and probably the JSA, Justice Society of America, and a million other selfish reasons that supervillains get a kick out of? The Flash listed off. Yeah, I get that, but I meant, what is the plan? How is he going to do that? I am not sure. Which is why the League will be on standby while the junior team does recon. Batman said. So I'm guessing that means you managed to recover data from the remains of the Mr. Twister android that attacked the team? Captain Atom inquired. Normally the man was usually silent, but when he spoke, his voice was commanding, perfectly suitable for the former US soldier. Batman was silent for a while before offering a curt nod. Affirmative. Although it was difficult to decipher the data, I was able to recover the location of the android's maker. Is it really necessary to send the kids there? The Flash asked. I could go in and be out in minutes, saving us time. Normally you'd be right, but the situation is manageable for now. The team has proved more than capable of handling these types of reconnaissance missions. They need even more experience, and that is something that will happen only in the field. Everyone nodded. As informative as that was, Batman, I don't think that's the reason you called us here today. Zatara spoke up. Every turned to Batman, curious. It's not. Have any of you ever had a Venture gang? After the meeting, Martian Manhunter stayed behind and approached Batman, who was busy typing something on the huge watchtower computer. Why did you lie? He asked the Dark Knight, who paused in his action and turned back to face the resident telepath. It was necessary. I am still wary to inform the others about Maelstrom's meta-knowledge. Yet you finally decided to use it. I know for a fact that the android was too damaged to recover anything. That information about Tio Moro is from Aden's docket of information. Batman narrowed his eyes. You think I did a mistake? Martian Manhunter nodded. I do. You should have at least consulted me about going on ahead with this, my friend. Batman was silent before giving Manhunter a brief nod. You're right. I simply did not see the need because the Tio Moro mission is a simple recon task. I have not confirmed any sightings as of yet. The whole thing hinges on whether the team finds anything there or not. I am sure Red Tornado was briefed beforehand. Yes. He was the first person I talked to. Batman turned to the computer and begun using it once more. Manhunter pulled up close next to him. So we're finally using it. Aden's information. Batman's fingers never stopped. Yes. We can't wait anymore for you to verify whether he's telling the truth through accessing his core memories. We have to use every advantage we can get while we can. Chapter 38, The Mission Ends. General point of view. Guys, look. Artemis pointed towards a glowing door that was just a few hundred meters away from them. The team had been searching for Aden after his sudden disappearance, but no matter how much they looked, no tracks could be found. After 10 minutes of this, Calder had instructed them to get moving so as to find a way out of the frozen wasteland. Kid Flash blitzed fast across the ice and snow, then up the stairs and plunged in without so much as a warning to the rest. Completely forgetting he was under instruction to stand back due to his previous mishap. Wally! Calder shouted a little too late. Why am I not surprised? Let's catch up before the idiot gets himself killed. Artemis told the others, and they sped up the stairs. The first thing that Artemis saw was Wally's back. Kid was standing on a platform while looking around in surprise. A second later, Artemis understood why. What the hell happened here? The platform they were standing on was barely holding on. Everywhere she looked was a dust-filled environment with broken and smashed staircases. There was a massive crater on the wall to their right and a hole in the middle space of the tower with destroyed stairs at the edges. Luckily they were near the wall, otherwise they would have died as soon as they walked through, falling from such a high distance. What in God's name happened here? Connor's voice brought Artemis' attention to the others who had arrived. The door behind them flashed and disappeared into the wall. Suddenly the platform they were all standing on became crowded and started creaking dangerously. Guys, something tells me we don't want to be here in the next couple of seconds, or else we'll end up as pancakes. Wally said, referencing to the platform that was swaying under them. Look. We can make it there. Mgan said, pointing towards the other end of the room. Wait, is that, something's coming. Connor shouted at them and they quickly raised their guard. Oh, stand down, it's Aden? Artemis asked out loud. Right at that minute, the platform under them gave way and Wally let out an unflattering scream as they fell, only for the wind to gently hold all the non-flying members of the team aloft. Huh, I had something stuck in my throat. Wally lamely stated at Artemis' stare. That's a load of bullshit and you know it. Artemis quipped with an upturn of her lips. Does Robin know Wally screams like a girl? Aden asked when he was close enough, making the others laugh. Dude, don't you dare. While they all laughed, Connor narrowed his eyes at Aden's direction. A scent of rotten blood clung to his body and the hood was tattered in some places. Connor looked into Aden's eyes and saw none of the humor he tried to project. Something was different about him. Aden saw his look and they stared at each other for a while. As if the displaced teen was challenging Connor to call him out in front of everybody and look like a fool for making a big issue out of nothing. Connor looked away. This wasn't the time or place. Aden, it is good to see you're all right. Could you take us to a more stable ground? Calder spoke up, reminding the teen team that they still weren't out of danger. Cool. I know just the place. The draft carrying them picked up and they cut through the air towards the direction Aden had just come from. Hey, you alright? Mgen asked Connor. You're acting a bit off. Connor debated telling her of his observations but then decided not to. Although they had gotten closer in the course of his time with the team, Connor didn't trust her enough with something that might have been just baseless suspicions. Connor nodded his head at her and decided to cut off his train of thought and focus on where they were going. Holy shit. Is that Abracadabra? Dude, you captured Abracadabra all by yourself? Even Flash has problems with him from time to time. Wally couldn't believe it. In fact, all of them couldn't believe it because it was like Wally said, Abracadabra was not a 2-bit supervillain. He was one of the more competent villains in the Flash's rogue gallery. Connor's eyes snapped to Aden again in question. The clone knew that Aden was probably the third strongest member of the team. Behind Mgan and himself of course, but he too would have had trouble fighting Abracadabra due to the mobility issue that plagued Connor. Superboy was the heavy hitter of the team, but what most of the others had him beat at was agility. He wouldn't have evaded Abracadabra's attacks as easily as the others. So based on the fact that Aden had managed to beat him all by himself, he would have evaluated his closest friend. Aden threw them an easy smile. I caught him off guard. In a straight fight, it wouldn't have been as easy taking him down. But not hard. Connor thought. What happened here, Aden? This was a simple search mission, but from the way things are, it looks anything but. Calder questioned. Aden sighed heavily. A lord of chaos had intruded. A new, older voice stated. Before their eyes, a superhero dressed in a black and yellow costume flew out of a yellow glowing ank in the air. Everyone instantly went on guard. Connor placed himself before Mgan to shield her slightly. An action that wasn't missed by her, and despite the situation, she blushed a little. Calm down, everybody. He's not an enemy. This is Dr. Fate. So Kent is alive? Artemis questioned, lowering her bow slightly. That's what I was trying to tell you. The old man is all right. A bit banged up, but he'll live. Indeed. Kent Nelson is alive and well. He appreciates the concern. Saying that, Dr. Fate swept his hands out at the wrecked sections of the room and a bright yellow light washed through the surroundings. Everyone shut their eyes, and when they opened them, it was like time had reversed. The staircases were whole again and all the craters on the wall were fixed. Okay, that's cool. Wally admitted in fascination. Does that mean you believe in magic now? Against her better judgment, Artemis asked. Wally surprised them, however, when he didn't outright refuse. You know, with everything that has happened. I'm, let's say 0.0006% there. Calder went forward and patted his shoulder while smiling. It's a start. Thank you again for your assistance, children. Send my regards to Tornado. Saying that, Dr. Fate spread out his hands and a magic circle appeared on the ground before them. With a flash, Connor and the others disappeared. Connor opened his eyes and found himself right where the Tower of Fate had revealed itself. However, now there was nothing but an empty space. He looked at the others and frowned. Abracadabra was lying on the ground, still passed out, having been teleported with the team as well, but they were missing one person. Guys, where's Aden? Gan wondered. Aden's point of view. The Lord of Order and I stared off for a few seconds. I had noticed that although the magic circle had spread out evenly to account for all of us, the space under me was left blank. Nabu most likely wanted to talk to me. The tower registers that Clarion disappeared after facing defeat. I believe that was your doing. Standing close to the guy showed me just how outmatched I was. Dr. Fate was brimming with energy despite the prodigious control he had under his belt. My body seemed to have adapted to sensing out energy, and he was almost blinding to my magic sense. I shut off that ability and decided to stay cautious. Beating Clarion had been due to the unique advantage I had over him at that moment. But now, at my current level of power, I stood no chance against fate. Yes. I used Kent's mystical cane as a foci to shift the energy that powers my abilities into order magical energy. After a brief scuffle, Clarion decided to leave, citing that he had wasted too much time and that you were probably on your way. I looked down while shaking. That's probably the only reason I'm even still alive, sir. He seemed scared of you. Dr. Fate stared at me for a few seconds while I tried my best to project the image of a teen who had been way in over his head but had luckily come out relatively unharmed. I see. What's your name? I looked up a bit surprised. Aden Strong, sir. Fate hummed and flew down towards me. You possess exceptional talent for the mystic arts. Tell me, Aden Strong, do you want to learn magic? Okay. Now I was actually shocked. And I didn't try to hide it. Not to sound rude, but why me? Despite my talent, I don't think it's that easy for you to offer just anyone something like this. Fate went silent while staring off into space. I cocked my head to the side. He must be talking to Kent. I took that moment to think about the offer. Learning magic would be ideal and welcome. Who doesn't want to diversify their skill set? Can you imagine getting an avatar who could teleport? Or who could amplify the strength of the elements? Or combine magic with the elements to take down opponents like Superman who were practically invulnerable to everything else apart from a few exceptions, magic being one? That said, I didn't want to stretch myself out too thin, and something else told me that there was more to fate's offer than met the eye. I sense light in you. Your whole being is attuned with order energy, and that would make you a powerful practitioner of that branch of mystics. Fate's voice pulled me from my thoughts. I took a second to register his words before I finally understood what he was aiming at. That conniving piece of scrap metal. My face did not reveal the unflattering thoughts I had about the Lord of Order. He was trying to secure a future host in me. Kent was obviously too old and was simply waiting to pass on and reconcile with his wife in the afterlife, and Nabu knew that. So once he saw I could channel order magic so easily, he thought he could trick me into learning from him and then later pitching the whole for the greater good speech and convince me to wear the helmet. Fuck him. Seriously, whoever thinks that Lords of Order are good is dead wrong. My face showed indecision. As if I wanted to take him up on his offer but wasn't sure. Denying him outright would probably make him react badly. I knew my own worth, you see. Finally I sighed. Well, let's try and keep up the act. I'm sorry, but I can't. I haven't mastered my current abilities. Adding more to the roster would be irresponsible and make me less effective. Maybe after I've mastered what I currently have, I will consider your offer. I bowed for added measure. Fate stared at me for a few seconds and said nothing. He waved his hand and my body tensed, ready to fight. The magic circle from before flashed under me, and when I opened my eyes, I found myself near the others who were standing on the bioship. The Tower of Fate was nowhere to be found. With that, the mission was complete. Hey guys. What do you say we get out of here? Chapter 39, Damaged Bonds. Aden's point of view. Our feet made synchronized steps through the hallway. Mgan had been left behind with the bioship to carry out some maintenance on her. Due to the fact that I personally knew nothing about the structure and makeup of a Martian bioship, I proceeded to my room. Connor also decided to do the same. Luckily, we had gotten some takeout before arriving at the base, so I wasn't feeling hungry. "Good night," I said while turning the knob to my door. Connor's hand grabbed my arm before I could push the door open. I stared at him over my shoulder and raised an eyebrow in question. Connor's blue eyes were stern as he looked at me. "We need to talk." His tone was clipped and hard. "Okay. I don't know what I did to get the Batman treatment, but I'm down for a quick chat." He pulled back his hand and looked apologetic. "I'm sorry. I just have a few questions." I hadn't missed the way he had looked at me in the tower. His nose had scrunched up and I had instantly felt like slapping myself for forgetting the clone had superior senses. Which meant he more than likely smelled the acrid scent of Clarion's blood that stubbornly clung to my hoodie. I was burning the thing, by the way. That had left me grinding my teeth and readying an excuse, but luckily he hadn't called me out in front of everybody. Especially after the talk between Aqualad, Kid Flash, Robin, and I. The suspicion would be back and that would set me back by a lot. I wasn't sure this was much better though. Him confronting me while we were just us two meant he would be keen to read my heart rate, and with no one else around, the chances of misdirecting his pointed questions were less. All that said though, I didn't like his attitude. I'm a pretty easygoing guy, all things considered. But letting Connor come on to me like that rubbed me the wrong way. I forced myself to calm down though. Superboy was still in essence a child. Which meant his emotional range was still growing. More times than not, taking the high road when it came to him was easier than winning an argument. "Ask your questions. Don't expect me to answer them all though." His jaw clenched and he crossed his hands on his chest. "Why did I smell blood on you? I find it suspicious that apart from Abracadabra, who was knocked out at the very start of the fight, this Clarion guy you told us about was conveniently gone before we arrived. What did you, Aden? You're thinking I killed him, huh?" I went straight to the heart of the matter. Connor looked thrown off by my straightforwardness. "Look, Connor, we've had a rough evening. So I'm only going to say this once, I didn't kill Clarion." He looked unsure but still didn't back down. "In fact, I couldn't kill Clarion and I had to resort to some very lethal attacks just to stay alive. That's why the scent of his blood is stuck to my hoodie. Otherwise, if I had held back against someone on Dr. Fate's level, I wouldn't be standing here. You guys would have come across my dead corpse, instead." Connor looked away and frowned. "Right. Why did Fate hold you back then? When we teleported, you didn't teleport out with us. What was the deal with that? You told the rest that he messed up the incantation, but I don't buy it." I sighed. This was going to drag out and I needed a shower. "Okay, we're done here. Let's talk more in the morning, Superboy." I made to leave but he gripped my shoulder. "What are you hiding, Aden?" Okay, I was now pissed. I rounded up on the half-Kryptonian. "You know what, I can't believe that you out of all people has the nerve to suspect me of anything. When you came out of the pod, who was the one person who didn't judge you for your fucking attitude? Who was it that had your back the most? Me. That's who. But I guess that respect and care goes one way, doesn't it, Connor? At least the big guy is considerate to his friends." That struck a nerve. His face scrunched up in anger and he punched the wall next to me. "Don't fucking talk to me like you know everything about me. You know nothing," he roared. I looked at him unimpressed. The hand inside my hoodie was tightened into a fist and I wanted nothing more than to bury it on Connor's face. There was a gentle whoosh as Mgan rounded up the Connor and stared at us. Guys, is everything okay?" she timidly asked. The tension between Connor and I was palpable. "We're done here." I swallowed the anger, turned and opened the door to my room. Aden Connor started but I cut him off. I had had enough of his bullshit. Good night. To both of you. I closed the door behind me and let out a sigh at how dramatic my life had recently gotten. I hate drama. It all feels so unnecessary. My first thought if I was in Connor's shoes would have been to exercise the policy of minding my own fucking business. If the issue had been too delicate to just leave as it was, my approach would not have been as aggressive and out of line. Connor had damaged our friendship a little, and the problem with me is that I'm rarely the first to reach out and patch things first. I sighed. Things would definitely be awkward in the cave for a few days. In a way, I could understand where he was coming from with all the suspicion. This Connor was different from the one on the screen. Due to Superman appropriately taking him under his wing, some of the Big Blue's principles were rubbing off him. Chief among them being the no-killing rule. And had Superman gotten the same scent of blood, his first move would have been to confront me about it. Connor was just emulating his new mentor. But just because I understood where he was coming from did not mean it wasn't any less annoying. So fuck him and everyone else. What I needed was to keep my eyes on the objective. I wouldn't be sticking around here that long anyway. I took a much-needed shower and come back feeling fresh and with an organized mentality. If Connor's attitude was an indication, most of the team would get angsty and start investigating me upon the slightest slip-up. Which meant I had to move out the things I had hidden in my room to somewhere else secure. Unfortunately, the list of contacts I had decided to make in the underworld were painfully short. Meaning I had no reputation to help me broker deals with these nefarious characters. That meant I couldn't contact the calculator, if it was actually him, just yet. Which left me with only one other choice. Lucifer. I could stash my things with him for the time being while also carrying out the missions he wanted to give me, which I could use to build a reputation in the underworld. But something told me not to leave the Metatrigger or Cobra Venom with anyone else but me. So I needed another idea. The tasks he wanted me to do for him were beneficial to me, however, so I wouldn't bail on that. Luckily, Batman wouldn't be too suspicious about my L.A. outings as opposed to going anywhere else. But first, before I made contact with the devil, I needed to ensure that I could survive anything he could throw at me. And I also needed to have another identity separate from my Maelstrom one. Which meant I couldn't use my air bending because Batman would simply compare my outings with the time the incidences took place and figure out that it was me. It was time to learn fire bending. Which meant I needed to complete the advancement into air bending Grandmaster. Time to grind the shit out of my sonic sub-skill and get it to the level it needed to be. In the meantime, in one of the documents from Galil's safe, there was a storage unit where he kept his relics from his numerous world travel that I could use to hide the Metatrigger and the vial of Cobra Venom. The jewelry, I would leave for the time being and sell in Metropolis. The cash would have to stay in my room. It was easier explaining it away than the rest of the stuff. General point of view. Clarion lost? That is, unexpected. One of the members of the Light spoke up. Yes. It seems we underestimated the children. Another added. Particularly this, aerokinetic boy. Could he be a protege of Red Tornado? Their abilities are similar. This time, it was a woman's voice. Doubtful, a deeper voice countered. Red Tornado has never had a protege all these years. The chances of him deciding to pick one now are slim. Maybe or maybe not. One thing that is clear is that the boy poses a threat to us. Another voice spoke up, his tone was crisp, concise, and oozing with charm. I never pegged you for a coward, Luther. Surely he is but a child. Although his abilities are impressive. He is no Kryptonian to warrant this level of caution. The woman said. The deeper voice from earlier chuckled. Bold of you to insult Luther. However, I'd advise you to exercise some level of grace as befitting your station, Your Majesty. Luther is no fool, and he certainly is not a coward. He must have a point. Let's hear him out first. Luther cleared his throat. As I was saying, the boy seems to know of us. By now, Batman and by extension the League suspect the existence of an antithesis to the Justice League, so he could have acquired the information that way. What concerns me the most was how he knew Clarion was a member. There was a brief silence. That is a cause for concern. The deeper voice from earlier added. He seemed to hold a position as the head of the meeting. The boy, he had a run-in with a few of my operatives during the Rocket mission. This is one more time he has stood against our goals. I propose we deal with him. No. Suddenly, in response to Ra's al Ghul's words, Clarion refused. His voice was dripping with acid and a manic hate. Despite none of the members of the Light actually being present in the same room, a grim foreboding feeling came upon everyone. He's mine. You hear that? Mayeen. I will make that little shit suffer for the insult he gave to me. If any of you touch him before I do, you shall know despair. There was a roar from Clarion's screen, and with a click the screen went off. Well, that was as productive a talk as any. Luther added as an afterthought. This marks the end of part 12 of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.